Okay, in Thailand, all the students will probably wear uniform very similar to this because uniforms are compulsory in Thai schools and they are very similar in each school. I think someone told me that the uniforms generally haven't been changed for about 70 or 80 years. So these uniforms are quite traditional. And for the girls, uniform, we've got white ankle socks, black shoes. And then on their school shirts, which they wear, they've normally got their student name in Thai, a student number, and also the logo on the uniform as well. And what you'll find in many schools in Thailand as well is that female students, the girls, they're not allowed to have hair longer than their ear at all. It's a strict school rule because they don't want them to kind of grow up and become women at a young age. And in my old school in Phuket, the girls would be up to 18 years old and they weren't allowed hair longer than their ears. And you'll kind of see the teachers sometimes which are monitored to kind of go around the classroom cutting the students' hair sometimes. So just beware for that kind of thing. But it's all good fun. It's part of being in Thailand, really. Otherwise, all the girls have got to wear their knee-length skirts as well. And if they are allowed longer hair in the school, they always kind of have some kind of school tie in their hair as well. And for boys as well, kind of opposite to the UK in some ways, the boys have got to have normally really short hair, whereas in England, if you have really short hair, it kind of associates you as being a thug or something like that, and you're expelled from school. But here it's kind of the opposite. They want the kids to have their number 2, the number 3 haircuts, and if their hair is long, they're kind of sent back home to the barbers to get their hair cut before they come back to school again. Again, the uniform for boys is very similar with dark blue, black shorts. And anything else? And again, the main thing you'll find is that, on all their shirts, they'll have their name and their student number and their logo as well. So after a while, you can kind of guess which students are yours outside of the school, which ones you might want to hide from as well. Okay, so just talking about a typical school day. This is quite standard, across all of Thailand. There are about 30,000 schools or whatever in Thailand, but a lot of them are very similar. And the day starts with a school assembly at 8 a.m., and I'll talk about that in just a moment. At 8:30 is generally the time when lessons start, and the students have between 6 to 8 scheduled lessons per day. And normally the bracket kind of hits 8. They have a lot of classes each day. Just bear that in mind, when you're in class with them. And the classroom's the class length is generally 50 or 60 minutes. So, quite normal. It's 50 classes. 50-minute classes of, maybe 8 of those a day. Or sometimes if they're 1 hour long, then maybe they'll have 6 of them a day. And often there is no changeover time between the classes. So what may seem like a 50 minutes lesson often goes down to maybe 40 minutes by the time the students have walked across the school. So that's just one thing you've got to bear in mind when you're planning classes, is that the length of class can actually be quite different to what you've planned for. School lunch break, generally 50 or 60 minutes long. And as I said earlier, some schools here, they've got 2,500, 3,000 students. So they generally all don't go for lunch at once. They kind of stagger the lunch breaks through the school day. But you'll definitely get time within your timetable for lunch within school. And generally 3:30, 4:30 p.m. is kind of the time when students go home. But what you find that many students do kind of stay in school, doing extra clubs for the teachers, doing project work, stuff like that. So sometimes, students can get to school, especially in Bangkok, some students get to school 6:30, 7 in the morning and are leaving 7:30 p.m. So they are in school for a long time during the day. And they do get quite tired, the students in class as well. Okay, this for me was one of the most fascinating kind of things about Thailand and being here. And this was the assemblies in the morning. You can see a picture here. This was part of my old school with all the students standing in lines in their homeroom class, and they're all standing by student number. So every student is kind of given a number within the school, and here they're all lined up by student numbers for the assemblies. And the assemblies are always outside, weather permitting. So about 7:50 in the morning, you'll hear the school anthem. It's kind of blasted and distorted over the school PA system. And about 7:50, all the kids are running from their classrooms down to stand in assembly here, and they get in a lot of trouble if they're late. So you'll find all the kids are running around, making sure they get to the assembly on time. So at 8 o'clock, they have the flag raising and the national anthem. And during this time, all the students have got to sing the Thai national anthem. One thing to bear in mind is that when the anthem is being sung, whether it's in the school, on train stations, bus stations, you must kind of stand still, arms by your side, just to let you know now. And when you hear the anthem, you're not allowed to move at all. One thing you'll kind of learn over time, probably from mistakes of doing it, but what you'll notice if you're walking around school and it hits 8 o'clock, you'll find everyone will stop when the anthem plays, the cleaners, the teachers. So just bear that in mind, something to remember. 8 o'clock, stop, don't move. I've seen it on the train stations in Bangkok actually before, where people go around making sure the foreigners are kind of standing up for the anthem as well. So they're kind of quite strict about it. So one thing just to bear in mind. After the national anthem, there's normally some form of Buddhist prayer as well. One of the students in school, maybe the head boy, the head girl, will say a line, and all the students have to repeat what they say. And generally that takes about 5 minutes. And after prayer, the students have to copy the duty teacher at the time. They'll present a list of the school rules in Thai, and often the students have got to repeat what the teacher says. So another thing that you kind of find in the morning, it's quite military style, you'll find. But it's quite an experience, being there, watching it all, especially if you're seeing 2,500, 3,000 kids all in one place at a time. Okay. And then again, they have a lecture often every day. They seem to have a lecture on ethics and Thai ethics and things like that. So another thing, the kids are drilled into them kind of thing. And you won't understand any of it. It's all in Thai. So if you're standing there, just smile and nod, and then it looks good as a foreign teacher. Okay, school lunch, probably a question that many of you have got. I've kind of listed here typical kind of food that you may have in school. This dish on the right here is quite popular. It looks quite gruesome in the picture. It is silver on my screen here. I promise it's not kind of brown rusty looking when you actually eat from them. But these are kind of typical dishes that you would have up there. And most schools also have quite a large number, especially in the south of Thailand, have quite a lot of Muslim students as well. And they do cater for Muslim students. Some schools don't have pork at all. And sometimes schools will put on a different menu for a certain day, just to let you know as well. But this is kind of a popular rice dish, or rice dishes that you have up here. I've kind of glorified the food up here a little bit. Some days it's not this good, believe me. And this is kind of same picture, but noodles, another popular kind of noodles dish. And up here, I've got some of the food which I've had in school before as well. Now again, maybe you had a quick look at school lunch and it's terrified you. You're phoning home, your mum, you can't live here. This food's so bad, what can I do? Quick solution. All across Thailand, you'll find Tesco. If you can't be dealing with the school food, just nip into Tesco. You can get food from there, bring it into school. You find most of the teachers' rooms or the offices, they have microwave, stuff like that. You can cook there. A lot of the Thai teachers do that as well. You know, after 50 years of teaching in the school, they're a bit traumatized still, and they'll kind of go to Tesco and buy food and bring it in as well. So that's also like an option that you can do. And also, you've probably seen these already, 7-Eleven. Again, these are absolutely everywhere in Thailand as well. And they do loads of, like, you know, if you're desperate, sometimes pot noodles, stuff like that. And they do lots of microwave ready meals, that type of thing as well. Probably used to those as students. So, you know, you can just buy those from 7-Eleven, bring them into school, and cook them there as well. I still do it at the moment. Okay. Next, we're going to look through at a kind of a typical Thai classroom. And what I want you to do, as I've been speaking quite a lot, is I want you just to maybe work in groups of 3 or 2 with people around you. You've probably done some kind of research on Thai schools. You know a little bit about them. Just want you to talk with your friends in your area and just kind of what do you think you'll find in a typical Thai classroom? What kind of things? And after about 3 or 4 minutes, I'll just go through some of the answers. So I'll give you 4 minutes. Talk to your friends. What do you know or what don't you know already?